I'm that girl who is noticing a consistency with my clients once again, which is prompting me to remind you potentially all, in case you've forgotten. We know that we choose our parents for very significant reasons. And for us volunteers, for example, we have chosen sort of harder relationships with our parents to learn those lessons quickly from the get-go, to empower ourselves to be who we need to be in this lifetime. It seems also very interesting when I've explored, say, for example, I don't have clients that are reptilian, but I explore the reptilian collective as a side hobby. And it seems like they often will have really beautiful, loving home environments to encourage them and teach them and nurture them how to be a family, how to be a unit, and how to trust each other and how to love each other. And isn't that fascinating? And of course, I know that there is always exceptions to the rules, but from what I'm hearing in sessions, this is sort of seems to be a really significant thing. And I'm also having lots of clients who have already had sessions with other practitioners and are wanting to come and have sort of second sessions with me. So sometimes we use their key codes or whatever. Usually it seems to be consistent that it's volunteers that are reaching out to me, or my collective, which is the Victorians. So, fun times to reconnect them with soul family, right? And have that deep connection once again with each other. So a few things I need to remind you all. Those really big lighthouse beings who are here, who have this sort of almost worrying concern that they're special and important and significant for humanity, but don't quite know how to reach out or say hello or be seen or heard for whatever reason. The collectives keep reminding me that it's these people that actually need to have sessions most, because they're still too shy, too polite, don't want to be bothering anyone with their own sort of, profound questions of what the heck was I thinking with this life contract and the significance between mum and dad and all that fun stuff. So if you feel like, oh, she's calling me out because you're one of those shy people, email me. Email an intern or email someone and find out and have a session for yourself. You are very important, valuable, needed, and these sessions are for you, for you, for you, for you, for you. If you are the person that will eat the smallest broken piece of a pie and give everyone else bigger portions and more perfect slices, and you keep serving yourself the broken pieces and the small burnt bits, well, that is not loving yourself as much as you could be, just as a perspective. And so reaching out to all of those loves that are still feeling too shy to make a connection. If you're feeling scared and worried to email me, this is for you. Much love, right? And so also another thing, so getting back to the parents, it's really significant and important just to make sure with your very first quantum session, you understand the lessons that your parents were teaching you. And we often think, childhoods should be just beautiful and fluffy and so empowering and so inspiring and so love and blah, 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 blah. And often by the time we get to be living in our lives, our parents are a reflection of their own hurts and traumas and their own journey of where they are at to self-empower themselves. So, sometimes they can be really struggling with their own childhood still as being adults. And so really important to unpack that, my friends, super important. And it seems like lots of people are like, oh, well, my childhood was, I'm an adult now, I've got my own children, I have my own mortgage, thank you, blah, 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 blah. When we don't see that something's impacting us right today, we may be assuming that these aren't impacting us. And so when we go back with love and unpack mum and dad, the siblings, whatever dynamic it was, a reason that lots of people don't unpack their childhood is because it's too fucking painful. So we don't need to feel the pain anymore, but we can look at what was potentially teaching us. What were the teachable moments? potentially I can feel people saying, well, not to be an alcoholic or not to be abusive or to be wise with your words. I mean, those are very good lessons that we should, heed to and notice. And it's so significant what our parents are representing and teaching for us. Often it could be very advanced souls coming down to be very sleepy 3D, just to play those roles to help us fulfill our own missions, because we know that this lifetime is significant for our soul. We want to be impactful this lifetime. And so as soul family members, we all decided to come down, keep this energy vibrations that we naturally are, and empower ourselves through it and back to love. Super significant. If you haven't been able to go back and reflect on your childhood and love the lessons to help you grow and be awesome, it's a time for you to do that without deep diving into the pains of the emotions and the traumas potentially that may be there that you do not want to look at. So explore it, because while we think we are inner peace and fantastic and got great grounded balance today, potentially there could still be some baggage that we're not wanting to look at that is still making us feel potentially insecure, unloved, and a whole range of those sort of emotions that we really need to address. And once it is addressed, I have seen miracles, emotional miracles in these sessions, physical miracles and emotional miracles in these sessions. We just need to gain the one perspective that our higher dimensional best friend beings can give us so easily. And instead we ignore, distract, and loop potentially, and we don't unpack the lessons there. And it's so important for you to find your own lessons and remind yourself of why you chose that family, that connections, those siblings, that first love, those friends, blah, 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 blah. They're all here to teach you. And, we know it can be very painful when we learn lessons. This is why it's great to be able to try and get them first, because if we don't learn lessons and we ghost someone, we cut them off, we refuse to address, acknowledge them, if this was a life contract for us to truly grow and overpower and overcome through, we will then be presented with a new friend who reminds us sort of that family member, or so and so and so. Same lessons there, different body, different soul stepping up and saying, well, I'll see if I can make this one work, and it'll be more harder. And this is why you can see people, we've all got friends, right, who seem to keep attracting the bad boys or something, right? And it's consistent, those cycles of she didn't learn that lesson, it's getting bigger and bigger. These lessons are getting undeniably bigger now. She's either going to give up men forever, or she's going to learn and grow from it and empower herself. So it's all very, very, very significant, super, super significant. Another thing I wanted to share with you on a private note was that channeling I did with Amy Winehouse. She was crying the entire time. She was very emotional and very passionate about it. And what she wanted to say was about her use and abuse and neglect in her relationship with food. And so it was this thing where she didn't feel like she was so pining, and she was so upset for not getting the love she was seeking from others, that she related that to food. And so often people will use food as a source of love. And so while there was so much going on, she was also showing me how her father and her were also soulmates. They didn't choose to have a sexual relationship this lifetime, but their love is so pure. So and she was sort of showing me that they love like her family, her soul family, love the dramatics of finding each other and then having all of this drama and tension, like that sort of stuff. They love that as the experiences. So when they are back in their bigger versions of self and they're reflecting on their life journeys, they've got that broad range of rich experiences, which they view as fantastic. And, they love that. That's what they're here for. So it was really interesting. And then Another thing, when I was doing the channeling with Bruce Lee, I didn't know that he'd written books. So he was saying that he'd written books and that he wants people to reread them because it's still very empowering for people. And he still recommends that. And I just thought, oh, that's strange. I didn't think you wrote books. I had to Google it afterwards. And what do you know? He's written quite a few of them. So for you, people who feel very connected and called and drawn to the energy of Bruce Lee, those books probably are something you may need to sort of like look through and be inspired with, because this energy is still there. And as we are really connected in, because we're all one, when we read books, when we read text, we can actually feel the energy of that person. So it's very interesting, very, very, very interesting. I had 2 sessions yesterday, and one reminded me again of how when you're watching an influencer and they're reading, when they're reading their own channeling, when they are reading their own quantum sessions, when they are reading to you, mansplaining and taking away their energy to give you their impression, just like what I'm doing right now, it kind of shortcuts the energy. And if you're a channeler, you should be able to share exactly your channeling. If you're a pure vessel, you should be able to show it. I mean, I've shown myself channeling, not because I think it looks awesome, because I think it looks really completely retardedly daft. Me closing my eyes and just, lots of emotions, like lots of tears are pouring out, and I'm just, doing that. But it was important for them to show you actually what it looks like. It's boring. I've got my eyes closed. It's just bizarre to watch someone with their eyes closed talking, but it still is a provable thing for you to see how I channel. So it can empower you to realize how you can channel and how you can get connected in, and you can feel the difference between my energy versus when I'm channeling and it has their energy infused into it. So it's very significant. So if someone's not sharing with you their actual true channeling, and it doesn't feel like it's actually high dimensional perspectives, and you sort of feel like it's just them mansplaining stuff, I mean, this is telltale signs. Telltale signs. So anyway, I love exploring who my clients are listening to be able to unpack and hear exactly what the subconscious thinks about that person's agenda. And often it's not the same collectives, right? So this kind of is interesting. It's almost entertainment for some people to hear big influencers with huge followings talk about history on this planet that's this complete entertainment garbage. And it's supposed to catch them out. And reptilian collectives are, valuable and important, and they're on their own evolutionary journey, and we can respect all life contracts and respect all species here. Absolutely, we do. But if it's not your collective, that information isn't serving you, in all sort of sincerity. And so I have found that the Arcturian collective is reminding my Arcturian clients to listen to the public sessions that I have shared, to be able to gain that perspective of what's happening and why, so you can actually apply it and be able to help empower yourself. Because often the Arcturians want to be able to do it by themselves because they're stubborn, and that's fantastic, right? But be stubborn to grow. Don't be stubborn to get stuck. There is a huge difference with that. So all free will and all. And what else was there that they wanted me to share? Gosh, it's just been such a whirlwind of such big information. Hang on, I'm just going to pause it. I'm going to have some more water. You don't need to watch me do that. Hang on. Well, that was awesome. I fully spilled my water, so that was awesome. I'm sorry you missed that. Some of you may need some entertainment and some giggles, and I know I do. Often when we see and hear the information from sessions and see and hear how humanity is going and what's going on for it, so very interesting times. Another thing that they want to share is, so anyway, just quickly about the childhood. If there was any times in your childhood that you didn't feel love or safe, that's us as adults now needing to go back, and we were safe. We were learning lessons. We were never alone. Sometimes it was really scary and horrible experiences potentially, but, those were lessons. So, definitely give yourself the time, give yourself the respect and the love to go back and love and be there for that inner child. I know for me personally, I had this one experience when I was a child, and I went back in my mind and went back into that scene, and I actually told those people who were the adults in that situation my adult voice now. And because as the younger version of Jo didn't have the ownership of her own feelings or the voice to speak. And so when I went in and actually sort of like confronted those adults and told them my experience and my perspective and what was going on there for me, it actually sort of empowered me, even though I know I can't go back in time, but I actually gave myself my own voice. And so I found that very healing. But you do whatever you need to do to be able to help you see and learn those lessons. Because if we don't feel loved, if we don't feel safe and we don't feel protected as children, often we will carry and view the world like that. And so this is an important time to empower ourselves to not be stuck in the lessons we were supposed to overcome and grow from. So there's that. Also, a lot of you amazing people have this assumption that relationships that are very, very challenging and tricky are just your hobby practice. You've got to keep at it. It will just get better if you just keep loving them. And I have heard in a few sessions something else that's quite different. So clients come in and they say, I want to be able to understand what's going on in this relationship and how I'm supposed to like empower them and encourage them. And then the subconscious says, oh, my friends, you were supposed to show them love and give them the opportunity to love, but you cannot heal them. You cannot fix them. And this is draining you more than it is empowering them. So know the difference between self-empowerment and self-disempowerment, and also loving our friends and partners in an empowerment or a disempowerment fashion. Asking about relationships in sessions is so important, because often people think, I'm not a very good, unconditional loving being if I want to end my relationship. So it's always important to explore this and have no assumptions that you know exactly what's happening to your life and who and how you should be responding. Because I hear in quite a few sessions, oh my gosh, it had to be so dramatic that we dragged them away because, this big love and light being wanting to just nurture and heal and have the best benefits and the best intentions for this person who it was never, ever going to empower them. And actually, it just drained the bejesus out of them, everyone, because they needed to separate to grow independently. And when you're wanting to heal someone and fix someone and help someone, you're often not doing it for yourself, because you're so focused on trying to help. And then it gets very interesting. So when I hear the subconscious saying, no, they need to empower themselves to speak up for themselves, speak their full truth, and step away from that relationship because it's not serving any of them, then I think if I was learning in these sessions, I would have just been like, oh gosh, this is going to be, I don't know what to say. Like, oh gosh, this is quite sort of shocking. But when I feel comfortable, and I do feel comfortable to really unpack it more for my clients, I will ask the subconscious, okay, so what's going to happen then for him? And, finds out, of course he's going to find someone. So you're not responsible for other people. And if the subconscious says this is a learning lesson for both of them, again, to teach, potentially a reptilian collective being love. You are loved. Now you must love yourself and be responsible for self, and know that you can't drain other people. But also, that could be in a Palladian, and that could also be an Arcturian. Just because we come from certain collective soul families doesn't mean that we're not capable of being very strong attention-seeking, energy vampires, narcissists. All of the range of labels we could just throw in that, right? So it's so interesting what the subconscious will say, because the client sort of knows sometimes it's not right, but they just don't know how to fix it and to make it work. And they have this sort of assumption, they love this person so much, they want all the best for that person. How do they make it work? And the subconscious is like, not on this planet. So anyway, what was beautiful about this is we explored it. Yes, he's going to find someone that's great for him, and he's going to learn, on his own journey about how to love himself and how to respect and love others. And for my client, she is now going to, they said that it was so beautiful. I hope she doesn't mind me gossiping about her, but I'm so darn happy for her because she's such a freaking fantastic soul. The subconscious said this, oh, well, when she can speak her truth and when she can, make amends and have that break from the current relationship, then, he's going to have his own distraction and side piece, and that's fantastic. And so I was thinking, well, what about my friend subconscious? Like, does she get anything good out of this? And they said they've saved the best for last. And that there is someone who has been waiting for her for so long to be ready, to be able to then now be ready for him. And he just wants to embrace her. And I just, my heart just exploded with joy, because everyone deserves to have someone who is, able to love themselves and able to love others without this manipulation or distortion of what true love is. And it's a really hard thing for people to get on that journey to actually be able to respect love. And isn't that a big statement that Amy said in her own message to you was, don't abuse and accuse love of being all those low emotions. Don't blame love for your heartbreak. It's about your perspectives. It's about the way you treat love. And of course, when you're trying to only focus on loving others, that's even more of a challenging balance. This is why you must love yourself truly and purely and completely, and not just who you are today, but love and respect yourself from ever since you were born. And I'm just thinking, what if you didn't love yourself in another lifetime? How are you supposed to go and heal that? And I guess when you do love yourself in this lifetime completely, there could be definitely a correlation of being able to have healed and love yourself from the other lifetime. So it's all fascinating, isn't it? I just love this stuff. But it's so important to explore what is impacting you from other lifetimes. What is impacting you from the life you've already lived up to today? It's so fascinating. So anyway, freaking love. I love love. It is so empowering. It's so inspiring. It is so energizing and so motivational. And this is why I feel that, so many people have given up on love. And, maybe it's because they were not supposed to be together, or maybe it's because, they need healing from childhood stuff, and to really speak their truth to their partners and say, this is what love is for me. And can we get back to that? Because we could be stale, or we could be in a rut, or something. You have to nurture love as if it's a plant. If it's something that, is high maintenance, but beautiful. It's so purposeful. And saying that love is high maintenance or a relationship is high maintenance, that's a perspective, obviously. But we get so comfortable in our routines that we don't sort of, put in as much effort potentially as we once did. And while there is that beautiful comfortableness, some bad habits can get in there as well. So it's very interesting being responsible for love and be responsible for our relationships and be responsible for how we view others. And it was so interesting when Amy was saying how, when we fell in love with them, sometimes that is the only version of them that we want to be in love with, because they have, they don't do dishes or something, and we sort of fall out of love from them because they're not being their original self, who was, had manners or something like that, were trying to impress. And as soon as they're trying to impress and try to be of help and service to each other, and it kind of becomes this routine, it's so fascinating. I thought her message was so unique in terms of what I've heard before from sessions, but it seems like the collectives can hear all the sessions and they know all the content, and they can see sort of missing pieces of concepts that haven't been explored. So I really had to listen back to that one because it was so emotional. It was just tears were just pouring down, and it was like she needed some healing as well through that. So it was very interesting, very interesting. And I was so deep in that Jackie Chan, sorry, not Jackie Chan, so deep in that, in that Bruce Lee channeling, that I was so deep into it that I didn't, I was so out, like I felt so far away from it. And I could feel that they were wanting to say about that joke about don't miss a leg day. And my consciousness came back and I was like, how does that make sense? Like I couldn't comprehend, because I couldn't process what had just been said, and then they're wanting me to say this, and I couldn't understand what it was. It was just bizarre. It was just so strange. I mean, I do understand the concept of don't miss a leg day completely, but in that moment of being in such a deep channeling that I couldn't it was like a daze. Anyway, when I listened back to that, I was like, I do understand the concept of don't miss a leg day. But at that moment, and I was like coming out of a sleep and just sort of like, who am I? What's going on here? Anyway, so in case you were wondering why I was so stupid and didn't understand about a leg day, a reference, I do. It was just in that moment where they are like looking at me and kind of giggling about how how confused I can be when I'm in the channeling, because it's so not me in my mind, which must sound really bizarre. I can imagine a lot of people thinking all sorts of things, but I don't care. These messages and this information is important, and it is part of my life contract to share this information. And if I started worrying about what people think of me, then I would be part of the problem, and I wouldn't have stepped up and try to be of service to explain from my 3D concepts and perceptions their higher advanced information, to be able to help you, my soul family, and our other collectives who I love and respect. And I know that the older version of Jo would have really struggled with the world of today. I would have felt so anxious. I would have felt so caged in like an animal. I would have really been so highly strung, stressed, and very afraid and very afraid of the future for my children. Like I could feel where I could have totally viewed the world only a short while ago. And actually, I can almost feel like I can cry about it, because, it's so there. And I really appreciate my inner peace. Like I love it. It's so important to me. I've worked really hard to be able to be so curious and have so much questions, to be able to actually face my fears and actually ask high dimensional beings, what the F is this all about? This freaks me out, or this makes me angry, or blah, 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 blah. And I've gone to them and asked them, like, tell me this. I demand it because I'm so outraged right now. And they will give me the perspective that I was lacking, that I couldn't perceive. And I have been humbled so many times in sessions where I've come in with my outraged 3D life complaints to high dimensional beings and been like, I want my money back. This is not what I signed for. And then they will say, oh, sweetheart, you very much 3D human right now. This is how you should be perceiving it. This is how you should trust it, view it, blah, 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 blah. And then I feel fantastic, because I was like, oh, It makes so much sense. I really appreciate that information, because I was looping and I was, doing a whole lot of stuff that I could do with my free will and choices. And that definitely was my 2020 version of Joe. 100% was. And I have been able to grow independently now and be able to apply and not run to them with every little thing, and be able to just double check, is this right? Is this how I'm supposed to be perceiving it? Is this how I'm supposed to move forward? And while they can't live my life for me, I actually have to apply it myself as well. I'm really proud of how I have owned my feelings, owned my actions and reactions and behaviors. And, I'm really seeing things from a more mutual respect of understanding and seeing the dynamics of certain people and how they're supposed to connect and to flow and all this sort of stuff, while not shaming myself for being human and having the normal range of emotions. But it's so good to actually feel certain emotions, to be able to understand the thought process and the reactions of what's going on and why. And I feel like so many people are sort of saying, don't have emotions, don't do that, rise above it. But sometimes we have to feel into the senses of the emotions to be able to get to the root trigger and cause of it. So, you do you do whatever is empowering for you, and that gives you so much joy. I am just happy to be able to share my little journey with you guys, to be able to hear my own noticeability of the consistency of sessions. It's so interesting. It's so amazing to have complete strangers who do not know each other have the same information consistently. Is amazing to me. And that's what really truly helped me gain trust and faith that these sessions aren't bullshit, and that the connections with our higher dimensional guides is 100% real. There's just no way you could get it's just not possible for it to be fake or tricksters or any of that sort of stuff. And I definitely did worry and have those thoughts of oh gosh, is this, what if it's, it's the naughty ones that have been channeled through my clients and all this sort of stuff, right? I have come from a very fear-based perspective to then question everything, to then have consistencies of information from advanced higher dimensional beings through clients that would never know each other, never have heard from each other. It's not even possible that they would be able to conspire and all that sort of stuff, which helped I think at the beginning, some suspicious mind, oh, I don't know about this. It just feels too good to be true that we've got all this amazing connections and total amazing advanced knowledge and wisdom. And it just felt too good to be true. And so usually when things feel too good to be true, it's kind of I brace myself for oh gosh, what's the downside of this? So, I have definitely had some fun with these sessions. I have 100%, 1,000,000,000% grown in my perspectives, in my passion, in my joy, and being able to really understand what the heck's going on for humanity. And it seems still, when some people are hearing about the shifts and stuff, they go instantly into fear because they don't know all of the information. They can't see the full purpose, reason, and significance. So they jump into fear and they block it out. I'm not interested in any of that. No. And so I do have clients that say, I don't want to know. I don't want to know about the shift. I don't want to hear about it. I'm not interested in New Earth at all. And so, I respect that, but the subconscious is it's time to face your fears, and you're shifting. You're going to be healing people. You're going to be helping people, blah, 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 blah. And I'm okay, subconscious. Well, they said they didn't want to hear about it. And they say, we understand what your 3D minds think you can do and are ready for, and blah, 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 blah. But we know better than yourselves about yourselves. And so, for those people who are control freaks, that fucks them off, because, my free will, blah, 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 blah. So it's very fascinating, my friends. Amazing. It's amazing. And for anyone that's wondering, oh, I should be a practitioner, have your own session, ask your own subconscious. This is so important. I see many people, and I've done many sessions with practitioners, and I've asked their subconsciouses, and the subconscious said, no, this work's not for them. with much love. They need to be focusing on actually their own true purpose, mission. And so, it's really interesting what we hear in sessions. And sometimes it's not what we think. But would we rather know exactly what we're supposed to be thinking and feeling and moving forward with, or just having lots of assumptions and just hoping that it works using our free will? We know that when we are on purpose and we are on mission, life is so easy, ridiculously easy. Everything just abundantly comes to us. But when we're fighting and when we're resisting and when we're wanting to use our free will for our own egos and perspectives and all that sort of stuff, I mean, we're totally allowed to do it. So there's no right or wrong, but it does seem to be the much harder sort of journey. And God, aren't we old enough now to just go the easy route? I feel like I'm cheating because I just love my inner peace so much. When there's so many other people freaking out right now, I sort of feel like, am I supposed to be freaking out again or not? It's too hard. But I mean, I know the answer about that. But, sometimes we sort of feel like we're cheating in life because it's just, I'm not going to buy into that fear. I can see exactly what that's going on, therefore, and why. So I'm in love with life, even the challenges. And I know we're all going to reflect back on this and just think, wow, that was such a real fun, challenging experience on Earth. I don't know how quickly we will want to go back into another 3D planet, but when we do, I am sure it will be just as fun and interesting for its own unique perspectives and experiences. So anyway, find your joy, find your love of self. Go back and hug that inner child in your mind's eye. Just think about that time where that child was crying for whatever reason, and be there. Imagine yourself hugging that little version of you. The lack of love that we give ourselves is part of what we could say is a crime against humanity, because love always wins and love is key. And we wanted to have these experiences. We did, to overcome them and to not let ourselves get lost in darkness and density, to have those experiences, to appreciate the feelings. Because when we are high dimensional beings, our natural selves, we don't get to feel those feelings. It's a novelty. It's part of the ride. We don't freak ourselves out with going down big roller coasters every day. But when we do, we want that experience. We want the excitement, the scare, that whole range of emotions. We don't necessarily want to do it every day, but it's significant to remind us how our body feels, how we react, how we laugh at that, and how we feel alive in a physical body. I love you guys so much, and I am so honored to be here with all of you. We are all connected and we're all one.